If you think you have time, think again. I used to believe that love could wait, that there would always be another tomorrow to fix what felt slightly broken today. My name is Margaret. I am 72 years old, and I have been married for 48 years. When I say that number out loud, it sounds strong, solid, like something that cannot crack. But even the strongest walls develop thin lines if you stop looking at them. In the beginning, our life was simple. We were young, tired, hopeful. We built our days around work, children, bills, and weekend grocery trips. We laughed easily then. He used to reach for my hand in the car. He would sit close enough that our shoulders touched without thinking. The changes did not come like a storm. They came quietly. First, it was the dinner table. He started eating faster. Shorter answers. It was fine. Just busy. I told myself he was stressed. I did not want to be the kind of wife who complains. Then it was the television. He would sit in his chair, remote in hand, eyes fixed on the screen. I would sit beside him, knitting or pretending to read. The space between our chairs felt wider each year, even though they never moved. I noticed he stopped telling me small things. The funny story from work, the argument with a friend, the worry about money. I noticed, and then I ignored it. I told myself, this is marriage. This is what happens after 40 years. We are just comfortable. But comfort should not feel lonely. Sometimes I would lie in bed beside him, listening to his breathing. The room would be dark, only a little street light coming through the curtains. I wanted to turn toward him and say, "Are we okay?" But the words felt heavy. And I thought, there is time. We will talk later. I did not understand that later can disappear faster than you think. Loneliness inside a marriage is a quiet kind of pain. No one sees it. You still attend weddings together. You still smile in photos. You still say, "We're fine." But inside, something begins to dry out. I had given so much of myself over the years. I left my job when our second child was born because he was building his career. I managed the house. I cared for his mother when she was sick. I stayed strong when money was tight. I never kept score, but somewhere deep inside, I was counting. There were nights I wanted him to ask, "Are you tired?" He rarely did. He would assume I was fine because I always handled everything. We became polite roommates. We discussed appointments, repairs, and the weather. We stopped discussing fears. I stopped telling him when I felt invisible. Instead, I washed the dishes slower. I folded laundry carefully, pressing the fabric as if it could press my feelings flat too. I remember one afternoon standing at the kitchen sink. The sunlight was warm on the counter. I could hear him laughing on the phone in the living room. His laugh was light, alive. I realized I had not heard that laugh directed at me in years. That moment hurt more than any argument could. But I said nothing. I told myself he deserved peace after working so hard. I told myself I was too sensitive. I told myself that after 60, you should be grateful just to have someone beside you. Yet sometimes, when he would fall asleep in his chair, mouth slightly open, I would look at him and think, do you see me anymore? Or am I just part of the furniture now? The resentment was not loud. It was soft. It built slowly like dust on shelves you forget to wipe. And the most painful part? He probably thought everything was fine. The night everything changed was quiet. It was late autumn. The house felt colder than usual. I was sitting alone at the dining table with a small envelope in my hands. My medical test results. Routine, they said. Just routine. But at 72, even routine feels serious. The doctor had mentioned the word shadow. More tests needed. Nothing confirmed. But the word stayed with me. Shadow. I looked around the house that night. The clock ticking. The refrigerator humming. His slippers near the couch. He had already gone to bed. For the first time in many years, I felt afraid. Not of dying, but of leaving without ever being truly seen again. I walked into our bedroom. The lamp was off, only moonlight touching his face. He looked older in his sleep, softer, human, not the distant man from the dinner table, just a tired boy who had grown into an old man beside me. I stood there for a long time, and suddenly it hit me. If something happens to me, this is how our story ends. With unfinished sentences, with love assumed but never spoken, with questions never asked. I sat on the edge of the bed and felt tears slide down quietly. I realized I had spent years protecting him from my feelings, thinking I was being kind. But silence is not kindness. Time after 60 is not endless. It is fragile. It is precious. And it does not wait for pride. The next morning, I made tea earlier than usual. My hands were shaking slightly. When he came into the kitchen, he looked surprised to see me sitting at the table instead of moving around. Are you okay? He asked. I took a breath. No, I said softly. I don't think I am. He froze. I had not answered that way in years. I told him about the test results. I told him I was scared. But more than that, I told him I was lonely. He looked confused at first, hurt even. Lonely? I'm right here. That's the problem, I whispered. You're here, but sometimes you feel so far away. The room felt very still. I could hear the kettle clicking as it cooled down. He sat down slowly. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his voice broke in a way I had not heard before. I thought you were strong, he said. You never complained. I didn't know you needed more. I felt tears again, but this time they were lighter. I needed you, I said. Not just your presence. You. We talked for hours. About small things we had ignored. About missed chances. About fear of aging. He admitted he felt useless after retirement. That he did not know how to reach me anymore. All these years we were both afraid. Both silent. Both waiting. Nothing magical happened that day. There was no dramatic music. Just two old people sitting at a kitchen table, finally telling the truth. Now, months later, the tests turned out less serious than we feared. But the real diagnosis was our silence. So if you are over 60 and listening to me, please understand this. Love does not survive on history alone. It needs words. It needs touch. It needs courage. Do not assume there is time. Do not wait for a shadow on a medical report to remind you that your days are counted. Speak while you can. Hold hands again. Ask the hard questions in the softest voice you have. Because one day, the chair beside you may be empty.